Greetings and salutations. It is I, Professor Macabro, accompanied here, like always, by the ever-lovely Zombie Huesitos and the spooky crew. Yes, indeed, a little reorganizing, so now you can see Hober and Art and Michael and everyone here. And we are here, in case you haven't noticed, by the spooky lighting, to regale you with a review. Yes, indeed, if it's spooky lighting, it means we're going to talk about a movie. And I'm super happy to finally be able to talk and review about this movie. I tend to prefer to talk about movies when I acquire them in physical media. Sure, I might talk about a couple of movies that I don't own that I decide to watch in streaming, but if I come across a movie that I've been hunting for a while and finally find a DVD or Blu-ray or what have you, that gives it an extra little special something, yes indeed. And the movie that I recently acquired and rewatched is Pumpkinhead. Yes, indeed, Pumpkinhead, starring Lance Henriksen. Freaking love Lance Henriksen. Him and Michael Ironside have the two of the sexiest voices of all time. They're getting a little bit on age, but I always wanted to, that if there was ever a movie about Professor Macabro, I wanted those two to narrate it. Yes, indeed. And Lance Henriksen, in anything that he's in, is amazing. Even if the movie's a little bit iffy, he always brings his A-game. Yes, indeed, like in Stone Cold. A lot of people love Stone Cold. I know a few people that don't much care for it, but Lance Henriksen is amazing. He's in Aliens, he's in the first Terminator, and he's in Pumpkinhead. He was even in that Hellraiser movie. Yes, indeed. Very, very stable, famous character actor, Lance Henriksen. Yes, indeed. Finally found this DVD copy of Pumpkinhead, chock full of special features, one of which is playing here. This is the behind-the-scenes footage of how they created the titular Pumpkinhead. And I think we can all agree that he got some heavy inspiration from the Xenomorph, because it kind of looks like a Xenomorph, doesn't look anything like a Pumpkinhead. And I like this DVD release because it has a whole bunch of little featurettes on how the story was developed, how Stan Winston came about, how interviews with the actors that wanted to be in this, and the behind the features featurette. Yes, indeed, on the whole process of creating the Pumpkinhead that doesn't look like a Pumpkinhead. But there is a purpose on why he's called Pumpkinhead, which we'll get to. So yes, finally bought a copy, rewatched it because I saw it years ago the one time, and I needed a refresher, but super happy to get this. And what is this movie about? Well, let me tell you. This movie is about Lance Henriksen, who plays a farm person that also runs a store. And he's a widower, and he only has a dog and his boy. A boy and his dog, you might say. And he lives a simple life, a humble life. Taking care of this store that he handles with his boy. And one day he is opening up shop when he's visited by a group of no-good teenagers up to no good and a Cletus-looking character. And Cletus is like, "Hey, you don't bring me my feed for my pigs." And Lance Henriksen is like, I'll have the feed back at home. I didn't bring it, but I can take it to you later. And he's like, "Oh, that won't do. I need my feed before sundown, because, Pumpkinhead want to get you." And, okay, fine, boy. Boy, you run the store here, while I go get the feed for Cletus. And he leaves, and and very trusting, but it was a different time, very trustingly leaves his kid and his dog with these bunch of teenagers up to no good, especially one guy. It's a little bit of a scumbag, getting drunk, beating on his woman, and riding his mountain bike. Now, the dumbass dog, which is the instigator to this whole thing, a very dumb dog, runs out, and the little boy goes after the dog, and these teenagers, are fucking idiots. Because one of them sees the boy running toward the field where the motorcycle guy is, and she's like, little boy. And she falls flat on her ass, and the other group of idiots are like, "Why'd you fall down?" The boy. "What boy?" And they suddenly develop the syndrome from the Pet Cemetery, where they couldn't run fast. Grown-ass teenagers couldn't outrun a little 8-year-old kid as he's running to the field in the way of the motorcycle guy. And that's something that always bugged me. I have 2 gremlins of myself, and I could outrun them willy-nilly. But in movies, apparently, well, people, leg strength turns to jelly, and they can't outrun the little buggers in clear and present danger. So, what's gonna happen happens, and the little boy gets run over by the motorcycle guy, and because he's drunk and he's a scumbag and has priors, he bolts it out of there, and the other guys bolted out of there, and his brother's like, shit, well, I better stay here and hope that hillbilly doesn't come back and go all wrong turn on me. And Lance Henriksen comes, he sees his boy, and he takes him home, and he doesn't take him to a hospital, which, well, again, it's a hillbilly town, so I guess there is no hospital. Takes him home, and unfortunately, because of his injuries, his little boy dies, and he's like, my boy, look what I did to my boy. And of course, as you do, he wants revenge. So he goes out to the barren wastelands, like there's, the barren wastelands of Hillbilly Town, and apparently there's an even worse place where this old hag called Haggis is there, and he's like, I know what you do, I know these dumb city folks have killed my boy. I want vengeance. And he's like, vengeance comes with a price. I don't care. I want my vengeance. So, of course, he summons Pumpkinhead. And he is called Pumpkinhead because he's in this tomb surrounded by a pumpkin patch. So, Pumpkinhead doesn't look like a pumpkin, but that's why he's called Pumpkinhead, because he comes from a tomb in a pumpkin patch. So the witch takes blood from Lance Henriksen, blood from the little squished boy, and summons this demon Pumpkinhead. And he goes out and kills them. That is something that, rewatching this, I do question, how did the Pumpkinhead know who was involved in the accident? Lance Henriksen only saw the one kid staying with his boy. He's the only one that actually knows what they look like, because he, was around the situation before he left to get the feed for Cletus. So, yes, how does the Pumpkinhead know? But it's magic. I guess that sort of explains it, because since his blood was used in the ritual, the Pumpkinhead had in his mind's eye what the people, dumbass teenagers, look like. At least that's the explanation I'm gonna give. So, yes, he goes around killing them, and he kills the brother of the jerk-ass that killed the kid. He goes first, and then the little dumbass girl that fell flat on her ass and couldn't save the kid, she goes next, and then a whole bunch of people. Before, we only have 2 survivors, and one of the many nephew, cousin, brothers of Cletus, and Lance Henriksen, who sees, because he's connected to the Pumpkinhead, he's able to see what it's doing. And he's like, God damn it, I didn't want this. And the old lady, quite rightfully so, is like, well, you wanted vengeance. It wasn't going to be willy-nilly. And then he's like, oh, I gotta stop him. I want to stop this thing. And he goes around and tries to stop the Pumpkinhead. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't seen Pumpkinhead, well, you should get on it. I was never able to find this thing streaming anywhere. But, again, I live in the grand old country of Mexico, and our streaming menu is different from the menu that you might have in North America or other areas. Maybe you have access to this streaming, but like always, I like to recommend you buy the physical copy and enjoy it. You get a lot of special features that you don't get if you stream a movie. You won't get the behind-the-scenes featurette of the making of Pumpkinhead or the other little featurettes, including interviews. Stuff like this is only on physical media, so we gotta keep this medium alive, so we can get more physical media and more special features still down the pipeline. So I recommend Pumpkinhead very much. Again, has Lance Henriksen. Lance is unfortunately not as charming or captivating as he is in something like Stone Cold. That's one of my favorite Lance Henriksen, and he's not as quirky as in Aliens. He's there, he serves his purpose, but he does a good job. Yes, indeed. And the showcase is the Pumpkinhead, which again kind of looks like a xenomorph, because they light him up very well, and it's a very cool animatronic effect. Yes, indeed. So I give Pumpkinhead 10 out of 10 creepy cemeteries in a pumpkin patch, producing a monster that doesn't look like a pumpkin. Looks like something else. Yes, indeed. Pumpkinhead, highly recommended. Have you seen Pumpkinhead? Did you like it? Did you not much care for it? Let us know in the comments down below. But until we see you all again next time, this has been Professor Macabro. That is Zombie Huesitos, and we wish you all, like always, a good evening.